No. Good morning, Carol. Nice to see you. We have at least one lit. And you'll light the chalice when I do the reading? Okay. I got a really nice reading. It's from Howard Thurman. All right. You know Howard Thurman? No. Okay. He's not Thurman, but he's a famous UU minister from Washington, D.C. And he wrote some beautiful things, prayers and things like that. So. Okay. Good morning. It's time for announcements, and we have a bunch. On Tuesday the 13th, from 3 to 5 p.m., in our library, we are going to say goodbye to Sherry Kofeld, who has been our office administrator for 4.5 years. And if you want to sign a card for Sherry, it's on the sideboard there out in the foyer. Okay, there's a new show in the Tombaugh Gallery. Actually, it opened last Sunday. It's Roy Vandera and Carl Cole, and it continues through the 25th of February. The hours are Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday 10 to 2, and Sunday 11:30 to 2. Be sure and see. It's a great show. And there is I don't believe this, there's a Yahtzee tournament. Are you Yahtzee fans?
Yes.
I knew people who were Yahtzees, but I thought they were persecuted for it. Anyway, we're having a Yahtzee tournament in the Artie Great Room on Sunday, February 18th from 2 to 5:30. Snacks and soft drinks will be available. Admission is $5 a person. Why not join the fun? Okay. Animal Advocates, of course, on Sunday the 18th, there's a film showing at 5 o'clock. And you can get information from Dave Steele, and his email is in the is in the announcements. And of course, we're still working on Change for Change. We have our designation for this quarter. It's Casa de Peregrinos, but we're electing ones for the next 4 quarters. And that information should be sent to Dave Rice, whose phone and email are both in the in the announcements. There's a new U class coming up. It's going to start on, the first Sunday in March, which would be the 3rd, I believe. Right. And it'll run 4 Sundays after church. So if you're interested, be sure and sign up by February 24th. And let's see. Oh, the auction. The auction is coming. There are forms for donation in the library. They're in pink, and so they're pretty obvious. And there are also forms online for donations, and they're in the members section of the website. And we always encourage people to donate as much as possible. In fact, I grew up in Chicago, which was a very political place, and we used to say, vote early and often, right? So here we want you to donate early and often, okay? And it'll be for the next 4 weeks. And I think that ends the announcements. There's someone in the back. Yes, Carol. Sherry's gathering is going to be in the great room, not the library. Thank you, Carol. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. It'll be, people cheering and, well, maybe they'll be crying. I don't know, but, they'll be there. Thank you very much. All right. I think that does it. Catherine?
Good morning. and welcome. So good to be with you today, and hello to folks who are with us online. We sing a lot in this congregation. I'm really proud of you and us for doing that. It's remarkable. And that having been said, I had originally picked out a much harder hymn to start out with today, and because we have a harder one a little bit later, and then I just decided to have mercy. So our gathering hymn is number 201, Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. And I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing together.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces on this very snowy day. We've been talking about the snow this morning, and I'm glad to see that you made it through. I assume you all shoveled your walks and plowed your driveways before you came, or at least brushed the snow off your car. Anyway, I'm Charlie Scholz, your service associate for today. Our service leader is Kevin Fitzgerald. Our director of music, whom you've already met, is Catherine Massey, and she's assisted by the great UUCLC choir. And I'm sometimes a part of that, but not today. Okay. Helping us this morning are Elwyn Nunn on camera, Claire Wallace on audio, and Mike Yesko on streaming technology. Our greeters today, whom you've probably already met, is Diane Lee, Linda Rogers, and Susan West. And hospitality after the service will be provided by the Committee on Ministry. We'll talk about that in a moment. And we're all delighted to be with you today. If you're visiting us, we'd like to meet you. If you're in the sanctuary, please rise in body or spirit and introduce yourself by telling us your name and where you're from. But wait until I bring you the microphone, okay? Any visitors today? And a microphone. There's the microphone. Any visitors? I guess the snow kept them. Oh, there's a visitor. Here we go. Yes, ma'am.
You would like my name?
Yes.
Svea Peterson. I am from Sweden and Connecticut. My parents were one American, one Swedish. I moved here 5 years ago during COVID, and I was in Colorado for many years.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Yes. Any other visitors? Okay. We say that Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We're a covenant-based church, meaning we live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and the covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all its forms, and everyone is welcome here. And you can learn more about our church at our website, uuchurch.org. And please join us after the service, probably inside today, in the RE building just down the breezeway. We light our chalice this morning with these words from Howard Thurman. I confess my inner confusion. There is food for all. Many are hungry. There are clothes enough for all. Many are in rags. There is room enough for all. Many are crowded. There are none who want war, yet preparations for conflict abound. Let thy light burn in me, that I may, from this moment on, take effective steps within my own powers to live up to the light and courageously to pay for the kind of world I so deeply desire.
Merry meet, my friends. My name's Kevin, and it looks like Charlie's groundhog lied to us. We seem to be having more winter than that early spring. I'm glad you all could make it. So does everyone know what day it is? Sunday. Well, today is National Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk Day. Seems like we have a day for just about everything. Don't cry over spilled milk is a contemporary iteration of the idiom, no weeping for shed milk. It was originally published in 1659, a book of Proverbs by Welsh historian and author James Howell. Now, we'll never know just how many glasses of milk James Howell saw spilled out and cried over before he was inspired to use those messy little incidents to pen his sage advice. But we can guess it was often enough for him to observe that nothing is ever gained by fretting and worrying over trivial incidents like spilling a glass of milk and the small problems that inevitably happen just in the course of each day. Worrying and regrets don't change the fact that something happened. Looking back and feeling sad, depressed, or upset can never change anything. The best thing to do when we spill milk or make messes in our lives is to clean up the mess right away, the best we can, and then not waste time dwelling on them or worrying about them. Howell's sage advice has not only stood the test of time, but it may be more relevant today than it was when it was first published more than 300 years ago. Continuing to hold on to the past doesn't change anything about the past, but many of us do just that. Refusing to let go and let live and get on with life after making a mess of some aspect of it. So maybe Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk Day on the calendar isn't so silly after all. We can all use a reminder to pause and reflect on how well we are adjusting and adapting to life's little interruptions and make sure that we are not carrying any regrets as baggage along our way. Catherine?
Would you rise as you're willing and able to say the words of our covenant and then remain standing while we sing the doxology in English and Spanish? The words are on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Good morning, church! Happy Sunday. This morning's Time for All Ages will be the video, Sometimes People March. Enjoy!
Before I go to bed, I love reading books. I love reading words and the way the pictures look.
Hi, my name is Sebastian. And my name is Alexander. We're the Gemelo Bilinguals. We like reading books. And we hope you like reading books too. Today's book is Sometimes People March. Sometimes ants march. Sometimes bands march. Sometimes people march. Marching is something people do together when they want to resist injustice or when they notice the need for change. People march for many reasons. People march for things they care about and people they love. People march for the health of their bodies and their communities and the world. People march for the freedom to love and live and learn. Sometimes people carry signs to share their stories of resistance. People resist in many ways. Sometimes people resist with their voices. They might resist with words, or with songs, or art. People resist with meetings. They resist by standing up, or sitting down, or taking a knee. It isn't always easy. Feet get tired, arms get tired, hearts and hopes get tired. Sometimes problems seem too big or complex. But we do not march alone. Ants are stronger together. Bands are louder together. People are more powerful together. Sometimes from feelings of fear or anger or injustice comes the hope for change. Sometimes great change starts small with a brave question. Maybe your question a question that calls people together. And together we find the courage to march. The end. You can find this book and many more at your local library.
Good morning again. This is the harder one. It's number 1051 in the Teal hymnal. And if you're reading the music, you'll notice there's some repeat signs. If you're just going to get the hang of the tune from me and the choir, then the words will get repeated on the slides. This is We Are by Esai Barnwell, Dr. Esai Barnwell, who is a UU composer and also former member of the African American women's singing group Sweet Honey in the Rock. And this song I chose because it goes with our Universalist theme today and affirms that first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Yes, we have to remember that now, right? So I would invite you to sing this seated. It may be easier for you to see everything, and there's a lot going on with it. So Kathy will give us our notes. Okay, but choir has to sing. For each child that's born, a morning star rises, sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters and dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
One of the ways we express our care for one another is through the sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones. Another way we do this is through our stone and water ceremony. You may notice we have all the basic elements for life gathered here in our sanctuary. We have the spirit above us, and your individual spirit may be represented in the windows along the side. The rocks represent earth as stability and foundation. Water is essential for hydration and cleansing. The air all around us is full of life, giving oxygen and a breeze to clear away cloudy thoughts. And the fire in our chalice provides a guiding light and the warmth of community. So, if you feel led, please come forward, pick up a stone, and drop it in the water, and silently say to yourself the joy, the sorrow, or milestone that you feel. Can you hear them? Can you hear the whispers of our ancestors? We remember their stories. They're in these walls, in our bones, in the air we breathe. Their stories are in the touch of a calloused hand, in the melodies of songs we hum while washing dishes, in remembered faces. We hear the whispers of the ancestors, how their stories touch our lives and call us into becoming.
Oh, thank you very much. So today's homily is a sermon that I found written by a UU minister who's based in Tennessee. It's called Universal-ish, and it's by Lori Stevens. I'd like to preface this by saying that you're going to hear me talk a lot about God and Christianity today. If you're new to Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, I'll note that's somewhat unusual. We're exploring the way that our religious ancestors understood the world, but I'm neither discouraging or encouraging anything about your relationship with God or gods or goddesses or the universe. Many UU congregations like to talk a lot about capital L love, and that originally meant God's love. But what love are we talking about when God has come to mean something different to so many folks? Back in the day, in Christian Europe, there was this idea that wealth supposedly signaled goodness and God's love. Poverty signaled that you must have done something wrong and you'd be damned to hell. But poor people thought that didn't make any sense, especially since it was the wealthy who were saying it. And the wealthy merchants paid the priests, and the priests blessed the kings, and the kings protected the merchants, and almost all of these were men. All these powerful dudes agreed that they had the power because God had chosen them and loved them, and that must mean that they were good. So if you weren't powerful, that must mean if you were bad or stupid or weak and deserved what you got. This was called theocracy. You won't be surprised to hear that the poor, the ill, the orphaned, most women, and people who weren't ethnically European didn't really resonate with this idea. The poor folks in particular started to think, what if wealth and poverty didn't have anything to do with God choosing to love and bless only a few people? What if God loved everyone? Those folks thought, yeah, maybe life isn't fair, but after we die, we'll just all be included in heaven, and we'll get to be with God together. That's called Christian Universalism. Made a lot of powerful people really mad. However, this Christian Universalist idea that we'll all be included in heaven, even if you made a big muddy mess and made other people clean it up, women, among others, weren't satisfied with that. Now we're in early America, a couple hundred years or so ago. Some Universalists, including a lot of women, thought it wasn't fair if God included people in heaven, even if they had done really awful things. So some Universalists thought maybe after death, there's a place called purgatory, kind of like afterlife detention, where people who had done bad things sort of sit for a while and think about what they did. They don't get punished, but restored, like a bath for your muddy soul. These folks thought God includes everyone in love and makes things fair in the afterlife. They called that Restoration Universalism. Okay, that's a bit more fair, right? The one teeny tiny problem is that all fairness happens after death. Who in early America might not be satisfied living their whole lives under the thumb of really cruel people in the harshest conditions imaginable, just hoping it all gets sorted out after we get kicked the bucket. Folks were enslaved or didn't love that idea. Now we're up to the last 100 years or so. Black folks in America had struggled for freedom and been emancipated, but things were still rigged to be really unfair towards them. Universalism, the idea that everyone is included, wasn't really catching on with them. It was nice, but it wasn't fair. There's a notable black Universalist history, such as Reverend Joseph Jordan and his daughter Annie Willis. They created a universal school for black children in Virginia. The larger faith support of the Jordan School was, you guessed it, a little unfair. They kept trying to get them to change the school or put a white guy from Boston in charge or pulling funded for it. Even so, the Jordans were kept it going for 70 years. But for most black Americans, Universalism never really caught on. It didn't address their lived reality. Black and brown folks heard this Christian talk about God and the afterlife and asked, "Aren't you all forgetting something?" South America and Black America in the 1960s, Christians highlighted that God had squeezed God's self into the human named Jesus. Jesus was born in a barn, dirt poor. Jesus hung out with foreigners and sex workers and lowly Roman bureaucrats that even his friends hated. Jesus was Jewish under the oppressive Roman Empire. Jesus was unjustly killed by that empire. In the Christian understanding, God experienced all that. So these folks, like the Peruvian priest Gustavo Gutierrez and the Black American theologian James Cone, thought, God may love everyone, but God prioritizes those who are poor and imprisoned and displaced and in despair, because God has felt all that, and in some people's worldview continues to feel every ounce of suffering humanity does. To those folks, that's what it means that God loves us, that God is on the side of the oppressed. So we should all work to change things until no one is oppressed anymore. That's called liberation theology. That brings us to the present day. Today, Unitarian Universalists say that though our individual beliefs vary widely, together we side with love. That's similar to the liberation theologians. We affirm that every person, from the privileged to the oppressed, has worth and dignity. Everything, from the harmed to the harmful, is connected in the interdependent web of being. But Unitarian Universalists side with those who are oppressed and hurting to work for change until we are all free. The Black feminist author Bell Hooks tells us there is no love without justice. Inclusion isn't enough. We need to work for restorative justice on earth. We need to pitch in and wash what we make muddy. That's love in action. I once saw a bronze statue of a figure shrouded in a blanket, asleep on a bench. His head was covered, but his bare feet stuck out. Looked like a statue of a homeless person, huddled uncomfortably to snatch some sleep before some cop tells him he can't sleep there. If you look close at the statue's feet, you could see 2 marks, 2 holes, evoking Jesus after the crucifixion. I'm an atheist, and I've also worked with a lot of people experiencing homelessness. So even though that isn't my religion, the statue reminded me that the universe is a part of each of us, that each of us is part of the universe. And so we are connected to each other in our suffering and in our joy. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tells us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The beloved community can't be built from the middle up. Love lives in the souls and bodies of people who are harmed or excluded. Love lives in the souls and bodies of people who harm or exclude. Love lives in the souls and bodies of people who witness harm but do nothing to change it. Each of us has been harmed and caused harm and ignored harm. Some only feel those pains occasionally. Some are only free from those pains occasionally. When someone causes harm or ignores harm or has to bury their heart to go through the pains of life, that separation requires we cut our souls off from the connectedness of all life. It requires that we forget what we truly are. That illusion of separateness hurts on the deepest, most divine level in ourselves. Yet, when we take actions that are aligned with love and justice, we remember who and what we truly are, facets of the holy oneness. When we side with love, we go beyond inclusion and work for justice. We remember that our liberation is bound up together and that we aren't free until we are all free. Let us feel honored and undaunted at the sacred, liberating universal work still to be done. In the words of Jean-Luc Picard, make it so.
The operation and outreach of our church needs your input and your contributions. This is the perfect time to think about what you can give back. In a moment, the greeters will pass among you with the offering baskets, but before they do, I want to remind you that we support organizations identified by the Social Justice Committee with our Change for Change program. This quarter's recipient for Change donations is Casa de Peregrinos, whose mission is to help those individuals and families who are experiencing food insecurity. You can give to them by putting actual change in the basket or by writing Change for Change on the note line of your check. Please give generously. Thank you, Catherine. Our closing hymn is number 1057 in the Teal hymnal, Go Lift It Up. This is one of my favorites. We sing this in choir at the end of our sessions every week. You can rise and bow to your spirit there.
Oh, that was nice. Thank you. Our closing words today are Justice is Our Prayer by Reverend Rebecca Savage. We have come to the end of our service, but not our calling in the world. May we close our time together with the humble reminder that justice and equity are our spiritual practices to embrace. Each day, every day, we are blessed to be the embodiment of what is possible. When justice and equity ground us in all that we do, may we go forth with the light and warmth of the chalice in our hearts until we are together again.
Please join me in extinguishing the flame as we recite these words. They're on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are